we possibly can. And we want to go through this information collecting process doing exactly that. And getting everything out in front, and then ultimately council will have to make a decision. And if people disagree, then they, with whatever decision, they can certainly let council know at the time, and that's appropriate. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Councillor Dermott. I think we're belaboring too much the feelings of the audience and having to protect staff. Obviously, we have a concern for our staff and we want to deal with them respectfully. I have a good sense that the audience is going to be on its best behavior, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I think we can put to bed that issue if we can. Councillor Bryson, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think we're kind of hovering in on a process that will give opportunities for people to hear things and people to say things, so that all those who have things to hear and to be heard about. I think an important part of the presentation and of the staff report was the method in which people are contacted. I don't know that that is part of the motion, but I would certainly expect that these individualized letters to the affected properties and presumably as well ESA, and I don't know just how extensive that would be or how that could be managed, but I think in a spirit of trying to get to people and say, hey, things are going to be happening and we want you to be involved. The trouble is, there's no point in sending out a letter until you've got specific information to give people about when these meetings are to be and how they're going to be able to take advantage of them. So rather than, like we've got here, you know, very specific dates about June 18th and such, I think to myself, yikes, is there a need for that kind of framework? I think it's better to get the package right, notify folks, and then let it unfold in a way that makes sense to the community and to council. So I would hope that the notification is certainly considered a part of this, and notification at an appropriate time.
Thank you, Councillor Bryce. Well said. Very well said. Councillor Haynes and Councillor Sanders.
Very well said. With the communication that goes out, it needs to be a letter that gets their attention. It can't be, and Thursday is your garbage day. It needs to be clear that this is an important issue and that this is an opportunity to speak to it. And maybe there's a way of wording that as a call to action. In terms of timing, as we get into July and August, it gets harder for people to attend. So I would hope there may be a way to get this done in June as soon as possible. And not to poll the audience, but are you ready to do this in June?
Yes.
That was mixed. That didn't help. However,
Through the chair to the audience.
I apologise. I'm getting carried away. I apologise.
I'm not just teasing.
So, but as we talk about it, Councillor Dermott mentioned it's a time to learn. The learning will go both ways because, as Anita has said through the chair, these are complicated files. I have some concern that some of the people I talk to do seem a little bit confused, and the whole point of this exercise is to make sure that both sides are fully informed. So I think the motion on the floor deserves good support, and I compliment the delegation for coming forward this evening and getting our attention on this file. And I'm optimistic of an excellent process going forward.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Sanders and then Murdoch. And then I think we can call the question.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I'm prepared to support this going forward. I understand the concern about June the 18th being a very tight guideline, and I think there's the desire of staff to have this done before people leave for July and August and summertime and that. But that being said, if that's the will, that's the way it will proceed. And however, it's important that people get that educational piece, and then I want the opportunity for staff to be prepared well so that they'll be able to pass that information on. It is a very complicated bylaw. Once you understand it, it isn't as much. So if they feel like it goes with June the 18th, then that's so be it. But I would hope that by the time the notification of the number of homes that are involved in that if it isn't I won't say resolved, but if there's a need for more meetings after that, I hope that happens too, and if it has to go into after the summer. I'd rather see a real wholesome process where everybody understands, both from the council and the staff side as well as with the public. So better to have a good process than have one that's, as the saying goes, quick and dirty and you check it off the list. So I'd like to see that happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Murdoch.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think others have articulated better than I the reasons to support this motion. I'll just add that I see the value in adding this to the process because I want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to be heard. Not everyone's going to be comfortable at a town hall style meeting. Folks who have discomfort speaking in front of a large group can join us at an open house to share thoughts. That it can be an exchange of information and ideas. I'm hopeful that it will be I know based on the discussion we've had this evening that it will be a meaningful consultation and that it will be, I think, a learning process for council, for staff, and for residents. And I'm very much looking forward to it because I think that there's been a lot of discussion that's occurred with respect to the EDPA, and I'm now very hopeful that it's going to culminate in something that is an improved product and is something that will be meaningful for all of Saanich.
All right, thank you. Any more speakers? All right, so before I call the question, I'd just like to thank Ted and Anita for the delegation tonight, presentation tonight, and for all the work that you've done to raise the level of this issue. I've been on that side of the microphone many, many times, and I know the effort that's involved in bringing the community together over an issue where there's sometimes a clash between expectations. And it's my hope that the expectations of this bylaw and the community can be made to work for the community because it is their bylaw. It is for us. And to have so many people out and have so many people concerned about this, I know that it needs to be modified. I don't know how yet, but that will occur based on the input that each of you give. And I encourage you all to come to these meetings and to be vocal and to be thorough. Research your properties, talk with your neighbors, and talk with the organizers and others who have brought this to our attention. In that way, we will have the best chance of correcting this in the upcoming council meetings where we will address this bylaw and hopefully make it work for everybody. So with that, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. All right, so I just want to bring us back to the agenda. I'm just going to give everyone an understanding of where we're going with this. We're going to adopt minutes for a previous meeting, and then I'm going to invite public input on the resolutions and the CRD reports that will come. We'll go through those fairly quickly. At that point, we will shut down council and open it up to our town hall and town hall council format. It's at that point we can speak about any topic, but if you were going to speak on the resolutions, I would limit that to the public input portion. So I'd like to call, so let's move on to item B then, the adoption of the minutes. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This next item is the adoption of the minutes from the May 11th, this committee of the whole and council meeting.
We'll call the question on the adoption of the minutes. All in favor? Attention, please. Thank you. We have a motion on the floor to adopt the minutes. We'll call on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passed. Thank you so much. All right, so I'd like to call for public input on items D and E on the agenda, resolutions for adoption, and for the CRD reports. If you'd like to stick around and speak to the any item, we'll have to wait for that part of the meeting and just please be patient with us. So, Madam Clerk, the first item, D1. Oh, sorry.
Actually, Mr. Mayor, it is...
I need to ask for public input.
Yes, thank you.
All right, so someone's already at the microphone. Let's just get started.
I hope I'm in order. My name is Tony Himsberg. I live at 3221 Frechette Street. I'm a resident of Saanich and the acting president of Amalgamation Yes. I'm here to speak on the motion by Councillor Plant on sending a letter to the Minister of Community Services regarding the study on governance and amalgamation. Amalgamation Yes is a society of local citizens who believe that the current governance structure for the capital region is flawed and in need of reform. We believe a provincial study is necessary to look at our current structure to determine if there is a better governance structure for the region. We felt the first step in this process was to see what citizens wanted. This could only be accomplished if municipal governments were prepared to ask their citizens a question on governance and amalgamation on the November 2014 ballot. We did ask the CRD to pose a question, but they turned us away. We then asked municipalities to do so, and we did meet with some resistance. However, 8 municipalities chose to do so, including Saanich. Unfortunately, those questions were varied and somewhat unclear in their intent. Saanich, in its wisdom, decided to ask a question that spoke more to an internal structure than to governance in the region. It spoke of community-based review of governance structure and policies and our partnership within the region. Residents voted by a margin of 10-1 in favor of the question, which was the only question Council was prepared to allow the electorate to vote on. I attended a number of public meetings prior to the election, not as many as all of you. It seemed to me that the public at those meetings felt the question was their opportunity to give Council a message to study amalgamation, even though Saanich Council did its best to avoid the amalgamation question. When specifically asked on amalgamation in 2014 on an Angus Reid poll on governance in this region, 80% of residents wanted an independent, comprehensive, cost-based benefit study and analysis of amalgamation. In that poll of 441, 32% of that 441 were from Saanich. And 81% of those were in favor of reducing the number of municipalities, and 77% were in favor of a comprehensive study. Thank you to Councillor Plant for putting the motion forward. I believe it is what the majority of Saanich residents want and expect this council to do. OPE is considering a similar motion on its agenda this evening. Part of that motion reads to be included as a stakeholder in any study of amalgamation. 3 weeks ago, Minister Oakes indicated she was waiting to hear from Saanich with a formal request of the province to fund a study of municipal governance. The media quoted some of our Saanich councillors as being not